LearnLogicPro is proud to present Logic Pro 9 at LearnLogicPro.com. Welcome to LearnLogicPro.com. Today we're going to look at filter sweeping. Now, filter sweeping has become obviously extremely popular in the dance music, and we're seeing it more and more in contemporary and popular music today. So here I have a drum loop. I have it looping over and over until bar 17, and I'm going to insert one of the filters. Now the filter that I use is the auto filter. I'm just going to use a mono filter. Okay. When the filter opens up, I'm going to bring it on the screen. Essentially, this is what the user interface looks like. Here we have all the adjustments for the envelope, all the adjustments for the LFO, your filter section, the state variable. This is if it's high pass, band pass, or low pass, and the filter type. You have a distortion section to grit and dirty it up, dry signal out, and main out. Now the first thing I do when I get to the filter is I turn off all modulation and I make sure there's no LFO, because I want to draw my own filter sweep in. Typically, I bring the fatness all the way to 100%. This gives it a nice big body sound. Now the resonance is basically the squeak on the filter. The higher the resonance, the more of a squealy sound you'll get. It's kind of a high-pitched noise. So I usually leave this around 40%. I'm going to bury down the cutoff knob. Now with these adjustments here, let's go ahead and listen to see what it sounds like. You can't hear it. So essentially what I've done is I've filtered out the entire part. So what I want to do now is I want to do some filter sweeps. You can slowly hear it come higher and higher. Give it a little more resonance. You'll notice it starts to squeal just a little bit. And the more resonance you have, the tinnier it gets. And I like to call it the squeal because it really gets tinny and squeaks a lot. So what we're essentially doing is we're using the drum part as our kind of like an oscillator through this filter, just like you would if it was a synthesizer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to automate that. And I like to go in and turn on the automation here, and I'm just going to draw it in. And how you do that is we need to figure out what knob this is in the automation section, so we know it's filter and we know that we want to automate the cutoff. So here in the automation section, once the automation window is viewable, it defaults to volume, but if you click here you'll find the auto filter, this plugin, and in there you'll see all the different knobs that are associated to that plugin, and you find the cutoff close to the top. See, here we have a graphical representation starting at 73% of the filter. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of do a little, put some nodes along the timeline here. And I'm just going to grab this and kind of do one of these things. Kind of give it a sawtooth look. There we go. Do this wherever you want it. Alright. You know, and if you definitely want to make sure that these the changes happen on the bars. That way it's kind of on time. The filters are now kind of syncing to the tempo, if you will. Now I could have done the same thing using the LFO. I just prefer the control that actually automating this this gives me. So let's put these in. Alright. Again, I could have used the LFO section, bringing the LFO up and controlling the rate of the LFO to give it this this same effect. However, I find that doing this it's better to draw it in because you have more control. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that cutoff mod down and listen to what we've got so far. gotta say, I think it goes a little too low, so I'm gonna grab my automation select tool, and I'm gonna highlight the automation all the way down. Then I'm gonna grab just the bottom part, and I'm gonna bring it all up. There we go. Now let's listen to it. And we'll bring in a little bit more resonance here. So you can see how this is possible to create this building up effect, very typical to the dance music. For instance, if I took this and maybe drag this over, a 7 or 8 bar loop, and had this build back up, you get that, graceful building effect, filter effect. So let's go from 9 on. Let's have a listen here. And there you go. So I've done this before when I've taken an old disco loop and I've filtered out all the high, and all you have is the kind of a low-end rumble sound that creates somewhat of a bass line. So there's lots of different ways that you can use this filtering as a means of which to be creative in your production. And that's LearnLogicPro Filter Sweeps. Thanks for tuning in. LearnLogicPro is proud to present Logic Pro 9 at LearnLogicPro.com.